Good evening. The Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board is officially called to order. I am Roberta Mayer. I am a representative from Subdistrict 10, and I'm going to ask the board members to introduce themselves, starting on my far right with Herb Schreiner.
She introduced me. Now, Herb Schreiner, Subdistrict 6. Good evening, everybody.
Chelsea Che at large.
Casey Martin at large.
Elijah Lee, Subdistrict 5.
Greg Knutson at large.
Holly Lyons.
Right next to me is Jeffrey Jones. He is our neighborhood assistant and assists in managing the meetings for us. He's from the Neighborhood Commission office. Elsie, go ahead.
Elsie Silvercott, Subdistrict 1.
Samuel Wolf, Subdistrict 4, the Hahaione condo towers.
Paige Alton, Subdistrict 11, Portlock Road and Monalua Triangle Coco Kai.
I want to thank all of you for coming this evening. I'm going to go straight to our agenda. We have a lot to cover this evening. So we're going to start with status reports. First is the Honolulu Fire Department. Welcome.
Good evening, Chair Mayor, board members, everybody. Captain Parker from the Hawaii Kai Fire Station. Present the report for February. Incident statistics for January 2024. We had 0 structure fires, 0 brush fires, 0 nuisance fires, 0 cooking fires, 8 activated alarms, 92 medicals, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 5 motor vehicle crashes, 2 mountain rescues, 1 ocean rescue, and 0 hazardous materials incidents. Fire safety tip and announcement. Don't stall, call 911. Call 911 right away when there is an emergency. Once the operator is on the line, speak clearly and provide an accurate description of the type of emergency and the location. Remain calm. The operator may ask for additional information or provide instructions. If you find yourself in a spot where you do not have good reception for voice communication, for example, in an elevator or while hiking, you can text your emergency to 911. If you don't know the passcode to unlock a cell phone, you can push the emergency button to unlock it and call 911. That's all.
Are there any questions? Yes, Paige.
Hi, thank you so much for your report. Quick question, the mountain rescues, were those both Coco Head?
No, so I anticipated this.
Yeah.
I think it's frequently, yeah. So we had a Makapu Tai Pools injured hiker and a Kulio Ridge Trail injured hiker.
Okay, and the ocean rescue, where was that?
That was at China Walls.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions? Thank you very much, Captain Parker.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I noticed that you have 0 rescues and calls, but a whole slew of calls for the medical
Yes,
emergencies.
correct.
92.
Yes,
Is
correct.
that all over East Honolulu or primarily at the retirement homes or?
It varies between in our administrative area, so which is from basically Kuli'o to Makapu. So yeah, it varies for wherever that is.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
coming.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a representative from the Honolulu Police Department here online? Who is it?
Lieutenant Taro Nakamura from HPD. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. Go ahead, Lieutenant Nakamura.
Okay, these are stats for January as compared to the previous month. Motor vehicle thefts were 1 as compared to 2. Burglaries were 6 as compared to 2. Thefts in general were 11 as compared to 9. And UEMVs, which is theft from autos, was 13 as compared to 18. This is out of total calls of service of 6,719. Further statistical information can be found on our website, which is honolulupd.org. And our safety tip for the month is scams. Just want to put it out there, remind folks that these kind of scams, especially these days, more internet scams, phishing type scams, are very prevalent online. So if you do not recognize a sender, don't chance it. Don't open up any attachments. If you can, consider getting a VPN. And if somebody does call you and ask you to pay your property tax with gift cards from wherever, that's a scam. Don't do it. They're not going to ask you to pay for anything with gift cards. So just a friendly reminder. And that's our safety tip for the month.
Questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Yes, Paige?
Hi, thank you so much for your report. Quick question for you, though. The police blotter had an item about a rape at the 100 block of Lunalila Home Road. It might be an ongoing investigation, so you probably can't comment, but I was wondering if you had any information. That is actually the school and the park in that area, and I have got some constituents who are asking questions.
Any kind of sex assault type cases are within the purview of the Criminal Investigation Division. And as you might know, those are they're very sensitive cases. So you can direct your questions to the complainant in that case, or that family could direct their questions to the detectives in that case. Other than that, I'm not at liberty to really say anything about that case or those kinds of cases.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Nakamura, I would also like to publicly thank Division 7 for helping to clear the tents out of Joe Lucella Beach Park. I'd like to also note that we have on the agenda consideration of establishing on a temporary basis some closure hours for Joe Lucella Beach Park. And after the park was cleared, I did ask Major Lynch whether park closure hours is still desirable to provide further authority to the police department. Do you have a comment about that? Do you agree that it's necessary to do so? Because I would imagine that many here would think it might not be necessary if the park has already been cleared.
I did receive your email, and then I did see Major Lynch's response, and he's actually authorized me to speak on behalf of the department. I'm not it's a little technicality, but I'm not of the requisite rank to be usually saying things like, yes, HPD is in support of this or not in support of that. But that's only because I'm not a captain. So, but in this instance, I was following the emails. I'm sorry, I just got back from my days off, and he authorized to provide a response. And it's common sense. He did say yes. It was us that cleared the parks, and then he said that please tell the neighborhood board to consider keeping that proposal to have actual official hours. Keep that on your agenda as a positive thing, because if you think about it, if it's posted, it's easier for us to take enforcement. And probably for me, the more important thing is you're also providing people due notice that you can do things or you cannot do things. And then if you have signs posted, it's always it's the right thing to do. That's the opinion of Major Lynch, and also my opinion.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Or yes, Sam?
Thank you for the report, Lieutenant, and also for clearing the park. Myself, as well as many other community members, are a little curious as to what took so long to do so, and what was the impetus this time to finally take some action.
I can't speak in I wasn't a part of the planning of that particular operation, but I do know as a general process that we have to work in conjunction with the many different agencies, and that takes time. And one of them might be one of those agencies is Parks and Recs, but you have to understand we have the whole island to do, and when we do something with other agencies, we have to work with everybody's schedules. So that in and of itself, and they might have one crew to do the whole island, and then there's there are 8 police districts that they have to allocate their time and resources to. So I don't know if it was just good timing or the turn for District 7, Sector 4, Neighborhood Board number 1 came up at this time. But that's the main reason why these things do take time.
I was also hoping that it might have been in response to the email that I sent to Division 7 about clearing the park. But however it came about, we want to send you all a big mahalo from the community.
Sure.
Thank you very much for coming.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Can
Herb,
I
go
speak?
ahead. Sure.
It basically came about a lawsuit that the city won over the ACLU. So it helped them to have some bite into the problem, but they're back. They're over by the restroom.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of them there, you know, so they're just playing games with the police. ACLU gives them cheat cards on how to beat sleeping in public. So just letting you know, it's not done, and I'm all for park closures. That way they can't set up their temporary house.
Okay, Lieutenant, you have a report that they might be coming back to the area, so be vigilant.
Yes, ma'am. And
Right,
and
yes, you have
I also,
a-
if I may add, I think it's a sensitive thing to assign all responsibility for cleaning up or whatever you want to call it, or solving the homeless problem, or to the police department. You know, I think we need to ask ourselves as a society, is that the way we want to do it? I know the police department as a public policy, homelessness in and of itself is not a crime. So it's an easy thing to say, oh, he's sleeping in that area against that hours, you know, let's send the policeman out there and he'll give him a citation. But that's one level of taking care of a problem. But is it really taking care of the problem is perhaps the question that I'm asking, and we all are asking. And I think it does need to be attacked on very many different levels. We've had the same staffing since 1998. Things are not going to change in this police department the way people are trying to not get in the police department. So our staffing is not going to improve anytime soon. So I think I just caution that it's not, the quick fix is sometimes not the best fix. Maybe that's one way of putting it. You know, can we look forward and look far forward and attack these very real issues in a meaningful way?
Thank you. Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Gerald Yu. I'm a resident of Hawaii Kai. And I've been very active recently. And as you know, the last meeting I spoke on this issue. I'm a little surprised the police department, their comments, somewhat of a narrow description of one homeless issue, that he's just sleeping in the park. And I don't think that that's what we're talking about here. I ask for a little patience. This is what board member was referring to, this is where they moved to by the bathroom, and they are playing their game. We know who these individuals are. They are sons of Hawaii Kai residents. And it's very unfortunate because they are not disabled. They are not mentally ill. They've chosen this lifestyle. They've chosen crime as their form of work. And I want to point out my brother in that wheelchair right there, because he's a product of homelessness for 3 years at the hands of a very malicious sister. That when my mother had a devastating stroke, she kidnapped her, got her to sign a restraining order on me, locked my brother out of the only home he's ever known. My brother has a cognitive deficiency. Essentially, he's mentally retarded. Back in 1960s, when he was born, there was not epidural. And so they used morphine on my mother to ease her pain. My brother stopped breathing for 14 minutes, getting to where he's homeless. After filing a restraining order on me and stealing the entire family trust, my brother was locked out of family home. And he spent 3 years sleeping on the bench in front, at the bus stop in front of Kahala Towers, and at the gas station, the Aloha gas station. He used to walk to Kahala Park. Sorry, yes. So this is what I want to show you. This is a picture of where they moved to. This is a picture of one of those guys golfing. They're not desolate. Okay? You know who they are, but I won't disrespect them by mentioning their names. This is one of the guys that performed very ominous Muay Thai in the park. I won't go there myself because there's going to be an incident. I definitely wouldn't take my family or my children. Pass this out for both board. See that we're talking about different classifications of homelessness. We're talking about somebody that ended up finding a job of his own, getting into a group home, and using the public services that are available. We're not talking about the same people here. They choose crime and using drugs as a form of life. So I'm sorry, but I don't feel sorry for them, and we need to keep the pressure on them. I also wanted to read a letter from Hawaii Kai Town Center and Coco Marina.
Can you summarize it, please? We have a lot to cover tonight, so,
I just give this to you.
okay. And then just summarize what,
We are definitely in favor of park closure, and I'm happy to work with the board because we are talking about language that the ACLU are giving them tips on how to beat certain language. Right now, what they're doing is they're laying their tarps flat because the issue is coming up about tents and tarps. As soon as it gets dark, they erect their tarps. Okay, so that's what they're doing to get around the camping issue. All right, thank you very much.
thank you, Gerald. Going back to, this is all part of our report from HPD. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to thank Lieutenant Nakamura. Oh, Chelsea, another question?
I don't have a question. I do have a comment in response to the HPD lieutenant's comment regarding the homeless. I think what we are focused on the board is law enforcement. Enforce the law that's on the books. And that's all we're asking. We're not asking them to solve the problem. And we also recognize that this is a complex problem that requires the whole community. But that does not alleviate the responsibility and the help that we need from HPD to enforce the law.
All right.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. I'm just, that's why I said, well, the major has authorized me to say that we are, of course, always in favor of park closures. I didn't mean to give anyone the impression that we're not going to do our job. If you see a crime, please call us and we'll assess the situation and take any enforcement action.
All right. I want to thank you very much, Lieutenant, for being here with us tonight and responding to all of our concerns. Thank you.
Okay, Take
All
care.
right, moving on to the Board of Water Supply, Iris Oda. Welcome, Iris.
Good evening. Hopefully I'll make it short. There was 3 main breaks in January. 2 were on January 10th near Kealaho Street and Papa Lalo Place. And there was a main break on the 20th near Idaho Street. So sorry about those 3. It's the same announcement I had from December and January. We have a $100 toilet rebate for a limited time. It's usually only $40. So it's $100 rebate is for WaterSense labeled toilets, 1.28 gallons per flush or less. So this is more than, like I said, more than double the usual rebate amount, and it's only offered for 90 days. So that's only through April 18th. So it's limited to 4 per household and 10 for commercial customers. So go to boardofwatersupply.com/rebates to go look into it and more information. And there's a few pages, few flyers on the table. And I just had a project update, the Kalama Valley Water System Improvements, Part 2, and the Service Lateral Replacement Projects. So I was told to report that we're working with our contractor to verify if they have received all the necessary materials for construction. If not, the contractor may request to extend the notice to proceed date. At this time, work is still tentatively scheduled to start in July, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But we will continue to provide the board with project updates every month. So that's my report.
Thank you, Iris. Are there questions for the Board of Water Supply? Seeing none, thank you very much. And welcome, Elizabeth. You want to say hi, Elizabeth?
Apologies for being late. Elizabeth Riley at large. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to be moving on to the Kaiser Complex Schools. And welcome Principal Gu, principal of Hahaione Elementary School, where we are and are every month. And thank you again for allowing us to be here.
Aloha and good evening. Thank you so much for being here and inviting me to speak a little bit about the Kaiser Complex of Schools. I'd like to share a little bit about Kaiser Complex. We are an international baccalaureate school, and part of that, we believe in attribute education. That means we have a learner profile. And that means we want kids to strive for these 10 attributes for the rest of their lives. So it's not just about test scores or grades, but it's really about the whole child and the whole citizen. So I'd like to share that. Some updates about Kaiser High School. We had a great night market last week, Saturday. Pretty awesome, 50 vendors and a lot of great time. It was a little cold and chilly, but it was nice. Also, we updated the auditorium costs, sent it to the legislature for their review. They've also had some mock interviews for all of their career and college center, AVID, and personal transition plan classes. And it's pretty cool getting kids ready for college and career. Our academic teams at Kaiser High School are all competing at this point. Oahu Math League, Robotics, Science Olympiad, Science Bowl, Science Fair, Media Communications, Learning Center, Air Force, JROTC, and the Mock Trial Championships. And actually, they took the championship. All right, we have a big day coming up, and that's our Kaiwi Coastline Sign Up Aloha in Action Cleanup Day. We'd like everybody to come and participate. And this is led by students. And so they're really inviting the entire community and public to come out on March 30th and clean up from 8:30 to about noon. And then there's a little celebration potluck afterwards at Kaiser High School from 5 to 7 p.m. So you can read up about it. I'll submit it in the minutes. Just a little bit more. New Valley Middle School had an art award announcement. Congratulations to Anna Cho. She won the Gold Key Award and 2 scholarships. So pretty cool. And then a little bit something about all of our Kaiser Complex elementary schools. Forgive me for my hiatus in January. We were training in the mainland for literacy education. And so all of our schools have been intensely focused on that for the last 2 to 3 years. And we want to make sure that all of our kids are reading at a proficient level and at a high level. So basic math and basic reading. And we believe that this intensive focus allows us to have one of the highest proficiency rates in the entire state. That's about all I have. I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Principal Gu? Somebody from the audience, could you come up? We need to hear your question. Can you use the microphone, please?
Okay, thanks for asking that. So in the minutes for the neighborhood board, I'm going to submit the Google link. So this is student initiated and student led. And so they are going, trying to promote it internally, but they'll promote it through that. But if you click on that link, then you'll be able to enter in all of your information. There's multiple sites that we're going to be cleaning up.
Elizabeth?
I just wanted, I think that's great what you guys are doing, but I do want the general public to know that every Tuesday you can meet up with 808 cleanups out there over by Irma's. And then also Sierra Club Oahu Group does Vavamalu in the Sand Dune area every third Sunday. And then Parlay for the Ocean does the far west end of Sandy Beach. So just FYI, those groups are out there doing that. And thought I'd mention it in addition to the one cleanup. And I think Representative Ward also has his annual April sometime beach cleanup. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, wonderful organizations, and they're actually helping us to unify the whole community. We appreciate their support.
Sam?
As well, 808 cleanups, if you're on Facebook, I suggest following them. And every Thursday morning as well, they're at Coloco. So a lot of opportunities. Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Very regularly, so take part.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Principal Gu, for being here tonight and for allowing us to come back and use your wonderful facility.
Thank you to the board and for all of your support. Mahalo.
All right, we're going to be moving on with the agenda, and next is our vacancies. To announce, we do still have vacancies in sub-districts 3 and 9. And board members, one of our board members, Byron Apo, has officially resigned from the board. He's not able to make the commitment to be here on a monthly basis, and so he felt it would be better to resign and open that seat. He is representing sub-district 8, which is Lunalilo Park, Mauka. So we now have 3 vacancies. We will not consider filling Mr. Apo's seat tonight because that was not advertised in the agenda. We do have vacancies in sub-district 3 and sub-district 9. Sub-district 3 is Hahaione Valley, and sub-district 9 is Lunalilo Park, Makai. That is the area behind Kaiser High School. Are there any volunteers tonight who would like to be appointed or considered for appointment to either sub-district 3 or sub-district 9? No volunteers? All right, and I'm also going to announce that I did receive information from the Neighborhood Commission office that they have approved our converting sub-districts 3 and 9 to at-large seats. So they will be advertised in our next month's agenda. So those of you who would like to volunteer and join us on the board in service to the community, we would be very happy to have you join us. Okay, community announcements, either by board members or members of the audience. Elizabeth?
Announcement for Kaiwi Mauka. If you're interested in learning more about the Kaiwi Mauka lands, archaeological as well as flora and fauna, and helping with building trails and native planting, please contact directors at lhkh.org. Again, it's directors at lhkh.org. We have a program that we're launching and very much would love to see all of you there. Thank you.
Any other community announcements? I would, yes, would you please come on up? And while you're coming up, let me also announce that our meeting in March, which is on the last Tuesday of every month, falls on Prince Kuhio Day. And so later in the meeting, we are going to, as a board, try to determine if we'll recess in March or whether we will change our meeting date. So just to let everybody know in case you leave before we actually make that decision. Yes, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Miriam Mayati. I teach at Kaiser High School. And hi, I see some faces I know. Thank you. Miriam Ayati, A-Y-A-T-I. And we were just chatting about the chicken issue at our last school site council meeting. And I wanted to bring up a perspective for you all to consider when complaining about the chickens. We did not create the chicken problem. We don't have chickens. We don't buy them. We really try not to feed them. And it's costing the school a lot of money to deal with the chickens. And for those of you that have had Kaiser High School students or have them currently or will have them, I know you want our education in our school to be top notch. And if I told you that we spent $16,000 on getting rid of chickens instead of laptops for students, you might be appalled. So I'm just letting you guys know from our perspective what that's like. You know, we try to be a good neighbor. And, you know, I've been at Kaiser High School for 13 years. My children went to Hahione. They are now at New Valley and will come to Kaiser High School. So I'm invested in the community and I'm invested in the schools. And since I've been there, we have been working on trying to get rid of the chickens, but we can't help where we live. And I just want you to consider that when complaints are made. You know, we spend a lot of resources, a lot of staff energy goes to solving the chicken problem, not just resources. And these are all things that could be used to better do the things that Principal Gu shared that we do. So that's all. I just want you to consider the impact of those complaints. You know, if our students are misbehaving or if we're actually doing something, then, you know, that's something we can control and we will work on. We do like to be a good neighbor, but we cannot control the feral chickens situation. That's all.
Thank you,
Thank you
Miriam,
for
for
listening.
being here. Sam has a comment.
Thank you for your service at Kaiser High School as well as in the battle against chickens. Do you have a theory or solution of like how we could resolve the chicken issue? Do you think just more money on the city end should be put towards capturing them, or do you think more laws against feeding animals and chickens should be in place to prevent the growth of populations? What are your thoughts?
You know, I haven't really thought much about this problem. I mean, I have and I haven't. You know, my degree is in history, not in chicken eradication. So I will share with you that we as a staff have brainstormed. I know currently our student activities coordinator who, you know, he's worked really hard on this garden. You know, he's done a lot of research on the impact of gardens at schools on student education. You know, all schools took a hit as a result of COVID, and we're really trying to rebuild a program that we are all proud of to be a part of this community. So when people say Kaiser High School, they say it with pride and not with, oh, you know, whatever it is that you might be worried about. So yeah, I mean, we do think about it, but you know, the chickens go in waves. I do understand that there, you know, there's a season where more chickens spring up. I think, you know, from my biology classes, I'm sure that, you know, but they, you know, we get rid of them and they come back. There's farms behind our school. So, you know, the farm should be probably part of the solution. So a lot of people should be a part of the solution, but it looks like the way the state, from my understanding, the way the state operates or the way the city and county operates, I don't know who, but from my understanding, our principal says that he's the one that's being named as the responsible party and that our school has to pay and it's our school's problem to solve. And as a teacher and a parent of students in this community, that just doesn't feel very fair.
Miriam, I just want you to know that we don't feel that Kaiser High School is responsible or creating the issue. It is a community issue. And I think we're all very concerned that Kaiser High School is using its own resources to try to manage the problem on their own facility.
Well, the community member complaints are pretty mean.
All right.
So I just want to have that on record. We try to be a good neighbor. We work really hard to be a good neighbor. So be nice to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. One thing that I've neglected to ask Mr. Gu, and I will ask Representative Ward and Senator Lee, is what the status is on the Performing Arts Center that is designated for Kaiser High School. There was money that was appropriated for design and planning, and I'm not sure where that is. And so I think we'd need to follow up while the legislature is in session. So anyway, moving on to public generated issues. Are there any public generated issues that are not on the agenda that the public wants to bring to our attention? Nothing? Okay, we're going to be moving on to our presentations. Oh, I do have one thing. I did get an email. There was a suggestion from a resident that the board consider banning left turns out of the Coca Marina Center, shopping center. Is there a desire to put this on a future agenda? Or is this a problem larger than we can address? Yes, Elizabeth, and then Sam.
I think it's worth putting on the agenda, and it has been on the agenda in the past.
Anybody else? All right, then we will put it on a future agenda for us to toss around and see what we might be able to do to get some action moving on that issue. All right, our first presentation tonight is some information on the Kaiwi Coast Run Walk, and our presenter is Carol Jackson and Katrina Perez. Welcome, ladies.
Carol, hi, I'm Carol Jackson, and this is Katrina. Hi, how are you? With Huinalu Canoe Club, and Katrina Perez and Sophie Hastings will be the co-race directors this coming year. So we're here, we always start out the year. We always start with an ask. We've been around for, this is going to be our 10th running of the Kaiwi Coast Run, but we always start with to ask for the blessing of the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board, and you've always been very supportive in the past. And our date is November 24th this year. The course is from Sandy Beach Park around towards Hanauma Bay, and then down Kalanianeole Highway to the Huinalu Canoe Club site. And we're usually cleaned up and gone by 8:30 in the morning. And that's always the Sunday before Thanksgiving. So we're here to ask for your blessing and then also to talk about where the money goes.
Any comments or questions for Carol or Katrina? No questions, Carol? So go ahead. Oh, Paige, go ahead.
What time are you starting the race this year?
We start at 6:45 at sunrise.
It's changing. Because it used to be 6 and
We were in August the first 2 years, so then sunrise was at 6.
that's right.
And then we were in
Sorry.
October one year.
Yeah.
So now we're in November.
Okay.
But we've been there for years and years. And so, yes, and like I said, this is going to be our 10th running. And then I also, the money goes to benefit Huinalu Canoe Club, but then we turn around and try to support some of the smaller and some of the larger nonprofits in our area. So in the past, we've given to Mauna Lua Fish Pond Heritage Center. We gave to the Hawaii Kai Lions for their rescue tube program. And I also have a check for tonight to Livable Hawaii Kai Hui for $2,100 from last year's proceeds.
Of which we're going to use this for the work that we do, Kaiwi. So, of course.
We don't like to spend lots of money on big checks or anything like that. I'll leave some of the course maps for the gallery.
Any luck, Big Five Carol? Should we be here next year? I will. So
I'm there supporting them, so they're doing great so far. So.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing the information with us and all of the community. I do have one other announcement that I forgot. I did receive a call from Todd Gray from Kamehameha Schools. And remember, they were going to be returning sometime this spring to provide their report on future plans for the leased properties in the East Honolulu area. Well, Todd had indicated that they're going to need a little more time before that plan can be shared. And so they will be here approximately the end of summer. So just to let public know. Yes, Elizabeth?
I did also receive an email from Mr. Gray, and it was indicating that the work that you saw on their lands on Lunalilo it confirmed. Indeed, it was a fire break situation that they were clearing that land. And I know we talked about it at the last meeting, but he did send an email a few days ago confirming that.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that, Elizabeth. All of the clearing that they've been doing has been in response for fire safety. So I want to thank them for that. Okay, our next item under presentations is a discussion of park closure hours for Joe Lucella Beach Park. This has been on the agenda before. Members of the community had asked us to bring it back and to reconsider establishing park closure hours. I have it on the agenda as temporary. What I mean by that is perhaps we might want to try it on a trial basis for a year or two and see if that is something that actually works to the community's advantage. Is there any comment from board members or members of the community that would like to share with us? Yes, Elizabeth, go ahead.
I appreciate your saying that it would be a pilot program. And to that, I would ask that if we did move forward, keep it to run with this administration, particularly because the director of city parks, eventually that changes if the mayor changes. So it'd be nice to keep it within the time period of this administration and also get it in writing. That being said, I do want to thank you, Chair Mayor, for liaisoning with the local police and getting them to follow the letter of the law of the sign, because they did go to the Joe Lucella Beach Park. They did do citations. And as you go there now, you'll see that there isn't anybody there, which is great. So
Elizabeth,
yeah.
you came in a little late.
Oh, sorry.
Herb was saying that,
Okay.
that unfortunately they have moved back by the restroom.
By the
area.
restrooms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
kind
saw
of
that.
playing games. So,
I understand.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, let's, Paige.
I just have a quick question. So we're talking about just Joe Lucella Park, right? We're not talking about expanding this to Mauna Lua, because we know already that doing anything at Joe Lucella is not going to do anything for the rest of the bay. So, which is the situation we're in now.
Yes, Joe Lucella Beach Park.
Thank you.
Yes, Gerald.
Very embarrassed because I'm sorry, I was taking up time when the police report was on the agenda, so I do apologize. In response to your question of whether or not it's only that park, I just wanted to share that the patrol officers for Hawaii Kai have asked that we ask the board to support all of the parks in Hawaii Kai, because the problem with the homelessness and the crime is not limited to just that park. It's all the parks in Hawaii Kai that need to be closed. This is from the beat officers that I work with as a neighborhood watch captain. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Herb and then Greg.
You guys heard me before. I'm for the park closure. And what's interesting is all the parks from Wailaiki to Kuli'o'o are closed at night. There is absolutely no homeless sleeping there. That's the one thing that the law needs. We also heard our district commander saying that park closures would really help them. Okay, I know that this is going to sound a little, but You ever look at a lawyer's office? A wall of laws? Police can't take care of all of that. Okay, tonight alone, we're talking about cats, homeless, chickens. And you know how many officers we get? It's a 7-beat sector from Hawaii Low Ridge to Makapu. We get 3, average of 3 officers per shift. We're lucky if we get more. And then they have their criminal issues at the lookouts. So a park closure is something I truly believe will help this problem of the homeless people that are choosing to be homeless, not mentally ill, not on drugs. They're choosing to be homeless. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that the way it is on the agenda relates only to Joe Lucella Beach Park. So what Paige is saying, it wouldn't affect the area around the bathrooms, the restroom, because that's another park. But I'm not even sure. That is not Joe Lucella State Park or City Park. And in fact, I'm not so sure the Honolulu Bay State Park where the ramp is, the parking lot. I don't know if it includes the restroom. I think that's city, but it still isn't Lucella Park.
I thought that the restroom facilities is part of Lucella Park because the sign is, right at that little parking lot.
Parking lot is Joe Lucella. That parking lot is not the bathrooms. There's the bathrooms, there's the little tiny little inlet, and then there's the parking lot, and that's Joe Lucella.
That's what I'm saying.
But the restrooms are cared for by city.
Well,
Parks
they're
and
both
Rec.
city,
Right.
even though, and if what you're saying is all parks, well, that does include state jurisdiction as well. Maybe Carol can tell us who owns the place where the canoe club is. I don't even know for sure on that. If that's seen as a separate, I think it's. But Honolulu Bay, the boat ramp and all that's a state property.
What we've been told is if it's grassy, it's city and county. So that includes the Palau, that strip of land, and then the bathrooms and Joe Lucella Park. And then the dirt and the pavement are the boat ramp and Honolulu Bay Beach Park of state.
Okay, but nonetheless,
So
my initial point
the
is
restroom, is that part of Joe Lucella Beach Park or is that Moanalua Bay Beach Park?
I don't know. It's city and county, so it's not part of Honolulu Bay State Beach Park, but I don't know. If it's
Okay.
Joe Lucella.
Well, our action needs to include the area where the restrooms are. And if we have to modify, our discussion to include a part of Mauna Lua Bay, then maybe we need to do that.
And I was also going to point out that in a reconsideration, and I don't really recall the specifics of what we acted on before, but it should be brought up and introduced formally by someone who voted in opposition to it or no, in favor of it initially.
No,
in order-
it's not a reconsideration because we did not take action on it. It was on the board agenda in the past, but the board could not come to any decision and chose not to take action. So the request was for us to put it back on the agenda and for us to consider this item again. So yes, you're right. It would need to have to be introduced as an action item with a motion.
And I would like to add a couple more things, just that, I've always been opposed to park closures. I believe I continue to be opposed to that because I don't believe that's the real answer to the problems. The problems are already addressable through enforcement. The police response earlier tonight was not all that definitive in my mind. They would prefer it, but it didn't sound like it was required. And we're still basically telling them, according to what's posted, they have the authority to expel anyone who's using a tent on that property. We also are not specifically saying what hours. If this would proceed, I would think keep the hours very limited so that it would interrupt any overnight. But something like 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock or something would be way too early. I mean, just, we haven't considered that. And it doesn't say specifically on our agenda item. So I think we maybe need to give this further consideration.
I just wanted to clarify, I heard the officer clearly say, and I wrote it down, we are always in favor of park closure. I'm saying that's what he said, and I wrote it.
All right, comments from the community, go ahead.
My name is Daniel Fulick. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you to the neighborhood board for welcoming everyone. It's a complex issue. We know this. And with all due respect to the board member there, is it Jean? Is that your name? I'm sorry, sir. It seems like we heard the expression playing games. The illegal campers are playing games, and the ACLU is feeding them lines, feeding them resources. I hope that we're not going to see that on this side of the room. The law enforcement, they've asked us, they've asked you to give them an extra tool. I agree with you. It's posted, no camping. That's already a rule. I read the ordinance. It's already against the law. You said yourself, we don't have enough police coverage. So if we give the police that blunt tool, which is you cannot be here during these hours, period. There's no discussion over, I'm not camping, I'm fishing. I'm not camping, I'm playing golf. All that nonsense is out the window. And I love that it's temporary because I'll tell you why. The governor and the mayor are dedicated to a more holistic approach to solving this very large national problem. It is not an East Honolulu problem. It is not an Oahu problem. This is an American problem. My position on this, and it may seem cold, but I really consider myself to be a compassionate person, is that if the city and county and the state are developing these resources to catch people that want to accept help, we have a responsibility to steer people toward that help as opposed to rent-free beachside living. So I really hope the board will consider this as a temporary to be reviewed measure to see how the city and county programs and then the state and the national programs are helping address the bigger problem. Then we can have our parks open, we can all go there and have a safe, fun time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments by board members or the community? Come on up. Ilse?
I just had a question about the area around Huinalo. Is that part of city? Is that totally separate? So Jolokela is not city, but it's a different park. And so the bathroom, is that part of that park or no? So we would have to amend, because I mean, it would only make sense to amend it to cover the whole area, in my opinion.
Yes, we would need to amend it, and we would also need to identify the times, like 10 to 6 or whatever. Greg, go ahead.
Okay, and there is one other consideration. Last speaker just mentioned something about you can't pretend to be fishing. Well, if you're on the shore and if you're fishing, that's allowed, despite any park closures. They'd be allowed access across the park to the shoreline. The shoreline is actually under the jurisdiction of Department of Land and Natural Resources, state. So it wouldn't matter what the city laws might be.
Elizabeth?
Support what Greg's saying is, if you think of Wailaiki and you think about Kuli'o'o, that those areas where they close the beach parks, look at neighborhood board number 2. They don't have any complaints from the fishermen. They have not had any complaints about having access to the water. So I do want to point that out too.
Greg is correct. All about the beach side is public property, and fishermen are free to fish. They can traverse the park to the sand. So that would not keep fishermen from fishing. You have a comment? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Michael Byer. I'm just an average person, member of the community, 6th grade graduate this school, 1984. I heard the officer talk earlier that homelessness is not a crime. And I've heard that from numerous places. I've been to events like this before, and I've heard it repeated by people who have helped them or people who are concerned about them and want them rid of. It's always comes up, homelessness is not a crime. True, however, it's the negative secondary element that piggybacks upon those homeless people that's the issue. When there's homeless people gathered and living in a place where they shouldn't be, what that does is it broadcasts to other areas and to people passing by that lawlessness prevails here. It's like when there's spray paint, when there's spray paint on a side of a building and it's kind of it's innocent, it's harmless, but then someone will come along and add another one to it. And the same thing with tagging. Then pretty soon the whole thing will be colored with tons of graffiti and stuff. And we go, wow, how did that happen? It started with the one. And so it's easy, it grows. Homelessness, it grows. It almost never contracts. It always grows. So how do we prevent it from growing? That's the issue. The second thing I have is that we don't need more laws on the books. There's lots of laws on the books. Laws would solve all these problems if the enforcement end would do it. But here's why I think it doesn't occur is because homeless people who are violating laws, they have no fines to pay and they have no assets to seize. So it's a no-win situation for the state, which revenue is generally gathered from fines and things like that. So there's no fines coming in. There's no compensation to apprehend those individuals. And that's the problem also. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Paige?
Do we have closure hours for Coolio Beach and other beaches? Do we know what time the closures are for those beaches?
Herb, do you
My
know?
suggestion
I
is
think
that-
they're like 10 to 6.
I think 10 or 11 to like 5 or 6.
My suggestion is that we keep our hours in line with those hours instead of trying to write a new book.
Sam?
I'm very much in favor of park closure hours for all parks throughout Hawaii Kai. One concern on the temporary side is the signage implementation. And if it's only for a year, is the city going to expend the funds to place those signs to potentially be removed a year from now? That is one question that I have. But as it relates to this meeting and how Joe Lucella is agendized, I think I would like to make a motion now that we vote to close the park from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and then place on the agenda at a further meeting all Hawaii Kai parks moving forward.
Okay, and your motion does not specify that it's a temporary or on a pilot basis.
That is a question that I have, and potentially another representative from the city could add to that as to whether or not they would spend the money to place signs at parks if we're, potentially going to remove them a year from now. But I'm fine with having it being indefinitely.
Elizabeth?
I'd happily support it if it was a pilot program for 2 years. I don't think that we need to, because I think, as indicated, the governor and the mayor is working, towards that end. And so I don't think that they're going to put signs up that says it's a pilot program. I think it's just a tool that we're giving the police officers. So I'm not so worried about that, but I do want to get it in writing. And I want to add that if we do move forward with this measure and send a letter, I would ask that we copy the Hawaii Kai Marina and Kamehameha schools because perhaps they could join in taking care of the areas around the dog park. It's common area between the two entities. And as we know, there's an encampment back there again. in that bushy area. So all you have to do is just cut it down and they have no place to stay. So I would just recommend that we would share with Hawaii Kai Marina and Kamehameha Schools to join in our effort.
Jeff has just told me that someone online who is from the Kuli'o'o area has confirmed that their their beach closure hours are 10 to 5 a.m. So, Sam, do you want to, is it okay to modify your motion 10 to 5? And are you indicating that you would like to have Sam amend that to a 2-year? All right. So the motion is that the board send a letter requesting the city to establish beach closure hours for Joe Lucella Beach and the area around the restroom facilities from 10 to 5 for a 2-year pilot. Is there a second? Holly seconds. Okay, further discussion. Paige and Ilse, and then
I think we need to be really specific about what we're talking about as far as the areas. Joe Lucella is very specific. It's the parking lot and the park. And if you're talking about the bathrooms, you're going to say the bathrooms are closed from 10 to 5 and they're going to be 40 feet away from the bathrooms. I think we need to get really specific about the boundaries that we're talking about. I would feel more comfortable if we could say Maunalua Bay Beach Park or whatever, but just to say the area around the bathrooms and within 30 feet of the bathrooms plus, you know what I mean? I mean, I just like to be a little bit more specific.
all right, Ilse, you wanted to say something?
Well, I basically second Paige because she mentioned what I was going to say because there is
All right.
an opportunity to have homesteading around Tuinalu too.
So do you want to say Mauna Lua Bay
Well,
Beach Park?
the concern is with sunshine law and how the item was listed on the agenda. So if it's just listed as Joe Lucella Beach Park, I think that limits us at this meeting, but at the next meeting, I would like to see it on the agenda that we can carte blanche all the parks within Hawaii Kai. That way we're not playing this cat and mouse game from park to park.
All right, comments, Herb?
So you're talking about Sandy Beach and all that too?
I would say, yeah, that would be, you know, if I was a homeless person and I see one park closed, I would move to the next park where there aren't closure hours. So within our jurisdiction as the Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board and following the precedents of the hundreds of other parks on this island that have been closed and the recommendation from Council Chair Waters and Representative Ward, I think that we should move forward with park closure hours for all Hawaii Kai. So
I think a way to handle it is stay where we're at along the highway there. And maybe label it all city park property from, I guess, Kuapa Pond, the bridge to the bridge. And that way we can cover the 3 grassy areas. We can't do anything about the boat ramp. That is state, DLNR. And, but we can at least address that highway.
That does define it, yes.
And, you know, I want to make a quick comment. You know, we fought real hard to keep the Great Lawn, because when you drive into Hawaii Kai, it's beautiful. Same thing without seeing tents.
Can you repeat the Kuapa Pond to where?
It's the 2 bridges from the Huinalu. I don't know what they're called, so we'd have to find out what they're called. But from the one bridge to the entry exit bridge into Kuapa Pond, all city property from in that location.
All right, so Sam, are you okay with that revision? And Holly has a second. All right. Is there further discussion or are you ready to take a vote?
Sam, I'm with you on Sandy Beach and stuff, but let's work on one at a time.
yeah, I just think that the concern is giving the community proper notice if we're just referencing Joe Lucella Park. So whatever's within our boundaries.
Okay, on the the website for Mauna Loa Bay Beach Park, it does include the restroom, so that would be Mauna Loa Bay Beach Park. But our, anybody want to see that?
But I think that was clarified when we said all city and county property between the two bridges. That covers, as Carol defined for us, all of the grassy area, the boat ramp and the parking lot are state. And we can't do anything about anything, you know, Malka or Mackay of the seawall, so.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion, or are we ready for a roll call vote? Okay, the motion is to close, excuse me, the motion is to request the city council establish closure hours for the beach or the park, the shorefront from Kawapa Pond to the other bridge, the area between the two bridges, from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. for a 2-year pilot period.
I think calling it the city parks between that.
Okay, I'll work on the language in the letter. Okay, Jeffrey, would you call the roll, please?
All right, so I'm just gonna go down the list that I have in alphabetical order. Member Alton,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Knutson,
No.
Lee,
Yes.
Lyons,
Yes.
Chair Mayor,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Shriner,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
and Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
By a vote of 10-1, the motion passes. I will draft a letter to the city council requesting the establishment of park closure hours from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. for a 2-year pilot period. Okay? At our next meeting, I will also put on the agenda an item to consider park closure hours for all of the beaches in East Honolulu. Okay, our next presentation is support the request from the Sierra Club urging HPD to enforce the revised ordinances of Honolulu as posted on signage at Sandy and Babamalo beaches prohibiting the feeding of animals. I need to give you some context for this item. The board at its meeting last month addressed this item and voted by a vote of 8-1 to support the request to urge the Honolulu Police Department to enforce the posted signage at the beach parks. And the postage signage, one of the items on the long list, had to do with feeding animals. But there's a whole list: no alcohol, no tents, no camping, etc. And the Sierra Club had indicated that the Department of Parks and Recreation relies on the Honolulu Police Department to enforce those revised ordinances. And so we did take action to send a letter, and the letter was sent on February 5th to the Chief of Police, Chief Logan, and to a lot of city officials and legislators that reported the board's action. I was asked, however, to put this back on the agenda so that the community is aware of the action that we took and to provide as a courtesy to the community to speak to this issue if it is a real concern. So if you want to speak to this issue, please come on up. We'd be happy to hear you. And let me also indicate that the board members have received a number of emails addressing this issue. So I just want people in the audience to know that the board is aware of the comments that have been submitted. So go ahead. Could you introduce yourself and go ahead?
Aloha, my name is Doris Green, Greene. I like the color money, but an E at the end. I am a 7th grade computer science teacher at Nanakuli Intermediate School. I have been on the island for over 20 years. No, I'm not military, but I've been here on the island by the power of the Holy Spirit. I saw this on Facebook. I am a person who helps to rescue cats, dogs, any type of life. Like Mr. Schreiner said, you got chickens, you got cats, and it's us, and there's dogs, because we had homeless dogs on our campus, and it's just life and having life more abundantly. That's what it is. Cats are life, dogs are life, the birds are life, all of us are life. Okay? And it's very precious. And so here we are. We're all here on this rock. Okay. And so the concern I have is that looking at the animals as life, not just an animal. Okay. And my question is, if you say don't feed the animals, then what does that solve? That's my question to you, to the board. What does that solve? It's kind of silent. Yeah, it doesn't really solve anything. The chickens issue, well, what they could do at their school is create a farming department of agriculture at their school and learn how to do things with the chickens. And so instead of putting out $16,000, they could possibly get money for their school. We have to start creating umbrella of solutions, right? Solutions that underneath the umbrella solve a host of problems, right? Umbrella solutions. Stopping, stop, from what I understand, the TNR, trap, neuter, and return, was working. And we should be informing ourselves more about how that helps a colony of animals and actually reduces the problem, okay? So stopping to feed the animals, that's just gonna cause just more problems. And because it's all of us and we're here with life and having it more abundantly, we have to learn how to manage it and have to manage it in a correct way so that we can reduce the problems instead of making more problems. So stop feeding the life. I'm not saying feeding and stop feeding the animals, but basically stop feeding life is not solving the problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Just so to clarify, our request was to urge HPD to enforce the posted signage of the Honolulu revised ordinances of Honolulu. In the same way that we had asked them to clear the park area of the tents and camping, it's the same kind of issue. Enforce the posted regulations. Yes, go ahead. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Malia Wish, W-I-S-C-H. I did submit testimony in advance. I'll be brief. I've been active with island-wide volunteer efforts to reduce the population of free-roaming cats on Oahu, all over the island. The colony at Sandy Beach is actually one that is being well managed, and the result is shown by the decrease in the population. So that is what we want to see when we see responsibly managed colonies of cats in the wild. People who want to kill or starve cats. It sounds like it would quickly fix the issue, but it won't. It actually just prolongs the issue. So I am representing Pohoki Place, which is, we're trying to build a large-scale cat sanctuary on Oahu, modeled after the Lanai Cat Sanctuary, which is meant to enclose, it's an enclosure where you can remove cats from ecologically important areas and contain them. But most cats are not in places where they are actually immediately threatening native wildlife. And those really need to be managed with TNRM, which is trap, neuter, return, and manage. So preventing the feeder at Sandy Beach would actually most likely result in more cats. It would actually result in the opposite of what you're trying to solve, because what they are doing is they are getting them fixed, so they are not reproducing. That's why the colony has gotten smaller. Not all people who feed stray cats do that. They're not all doing it responsibly, so I do want to acknowledge that if you've got, issues in your neighborhood, but this particular issue is a success story. They're being humanely, their numbers are decreasing over time via a humane method and strategy. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And I wish you much luck in establishing that sanctuary so that there is a place that the cats can be rounded up and
Chair Mayor?
placed.
I
Yes.
I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
To,
Kelsey.
The lady that just spoke. Can you help me understand the impact of, you mentioned that if we stop feeding these cats that are not owned by anyone, so what are the negative impacts of that, and how do they behave if we stop feeding them? Yeah.
Yeah, if you stop feeding a cat, they are forced to forage and or hunt. So yes, a cat that is fed, we all know some of them have the instinct to hunt. They want to play, right? But if you don't feed a cat, if the cat is hungry, then the cat has no choice but to hunt and forage. So a lot of them end up at beach parks because of trash cans. That's really why they're there. So they're eating scraps left by beachgoers, as well as the rats that are attracted to the scraps left by beachgoers. Most of our cat colonies here do not threaten native wildlife because there isn't much left. There are some protected native wildlife habitat, ground nesting bird habitats. We strongly support putting predator fencing around those because that is the only way to prevent cats from constantly moving back in. Because cats are coming from our neighborhoods, which is where people have unfixed pet cats. And the reason they don't fix their pets is usually cost, lack of awareness of low-cost resources, lack of awareness to low-cost resources, because there are low-cost resources, but the current supply does not meet the current demand. So this is something this is a huge issue. It's a multi-pronged issue. Thousands of us are working on it. Holly's going to speak to it as well. So we can talk about this all night, but just to stay focused on the issue here, you actually have a well-managed cat colony because the numbers are decreasing. So to prevent feeding is to basically remove the mechanism by which we trap and neuter cats. Come to the food. That's how we trap them. We actually withhold food for one day before they're trapped. Then they go in the traps because they're extra hungry that night, and they're all there because that's what they're expecting. That's how we get them fixed. And then they're returned. Stray cats don't have a long lifespan. So as long as they're not reproducing kittens, the colony shrinks in size. So that's what we want to see at every cat colony.
Yeah, thank you so much. The reason why I asked that question is, board can talk about and discuss different options and choices. But at the end, before anything is presented as a motion, I think we ought to have basic facts and accurate statistics that allow us to make informed decisions. And so one of the things that I think it'll be good to stay connected so that we can get the data that comes out of it. And so that we're not doing something that goes against and actually, undo things that your group and those who are committed in doing, because at the end, it's a balance.
Okay, I'm going to move this along.
But life is precious, but it also comes with cost. And so just as I have a dog that I'm responsible for feeding and caring and for safety, and that dog does not go out there and do things, that I think we should all be responsible.
All right, Greg?
I wanted some clarification. You're either directly part of or the group that is managing the colony at Sandy Beach. What authority do they have? Are they actually given government authority to do that?
She did during the pandemic.
Because what I'm referring to, I was the one who voted against it, I guess I'm often in the minority, but like at Park and Ride, Waikai Park and Ride, there is an authorized individual who organizes scheduled feeding and care for that colony. Although there are still signs that say do not feed the animals. But that person is able to do so. If the person at Sandy Beach, is it what, Stacy Fujii, is that the name? Who has a petition with some 500 signatures that really oppose any action to stop caring for these roaming animals. But anyway, then our recommendation to follow the sign is meaningless because that person already has authority. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I've spoken to Stacy earlier before the meeting, and she indicated that she had an agreement under David Ige's administration. And so I did recommend that she speak to the new governor and the new DPR director, because none of them know anything about any agreement there. And so it looks as though they might need a waiver, but it can't just be carte blanche that anybody can feed animals. I mean, if there is going to be, you know, a particular authorized caretaker, then I think there needs to be some kind of authority or documentation. So I've already spoken to Stacy about that.
And I also feel, as you say, the population has been decreasing. I went through there today and saw no cats until I really had to search them out in the clump of alpaca that's kind of in the middle of the park, away from the shore, away from any people. There I did see 5 cats. I didn't see any dishes, any water dishes, anything. There's no indication of feeding. And here we are, we're asking the police department to, in effect, up the priority and bust cat feeders when we see other neighborhood boards in the last couple of days, they're dealing with after-hour assistance, prostitution, drug use, gambling, and we're trying to bust the cat feeders, doing something humane. I find it a bit ridiculous.
So we would love for it to become a policy, a government thing.
Okay.
There's cities that have TNR as part of a city.
Right. I don't think anybody's opposed to the TNR approach. It's just that, and I'm really happy that you're all speaking for the cats, but people have to speak for the other animals that may be endangered by their presence. Yes, and so I think there needs to be a balance, and definitely the post signs, they are ordinances, they should be enforced. And if there's going to be any kind of regulation for a caretaker, then that needs to be some kind of an authority position. So, Sam?
Thank you for coming and voicing your thoughts on this issue. I see that you have an initiative for the Oahu Cat Sanctuary. Is there also an initiative for a mongoose sanctuary or a rat sanctuary, goat sanctuary, feral pig sanctuary, a pigeon sanctuary?
That point that you're making is that a lot of that are native would be, it's just not the case. Cats are one of the predators. And mosquitoes are some of the worst. There is no trap, there is no fence that can keep them out. It's people. Humans have caused this problem. So we are trying our best, honestly, because it's more humane for the cats. We love cats. We don't want them to suffer. We want there to be fewer of them out on the streets.
Okay. You know, I'm going to have to move this meeting along. We have a number of other presentations, and we still have our officials' reports. So could you make your comments very quick?
Thank you for asking those questions. The reason we're here, I'm Holly Hollowalk, the founder and president of the Popoki Place of Oahu Cat Sanctuary. We're a nonprofit 501c3, and we're searching for land to make our sanctuary, which will be a large-scale sanctuary, 5 to 10 acres, so that we can take as many cats as possible that are in those endangered areas that are threatening the wildlife and being threatened. And so it's a big thing. We're here because the minutes from your last agenda stated that someone had abandoned their cats on the beach and went there to play with them and feed them. That was the wording. And so it's like, wait a minute, she's not doing that. She's managing in a TNR very intentional way.
I think that there might have been a misinterpretation because I don't think that the report was targeting the caretaker. I think that there are people who feed animals indiscriminately and irresponsibly, and I think that that needs to be addressed.
The point I wanted to make was TNRM, a lot of people don't understand. We all know trap, neuter, release, but the manage is the important part. And so we've added the M on the TNRM so that we make sure that people understand if you're going to feed, you're going to trap, you're going to neuter, and you're going to manage, and you go there and you look for new cats that have been abandoned or somehow magically show up that haven't been fixed, and you fix that cat. And overall, that combination, there are thousands of people that spend their own money, their hard-earned money to do this work for free. You know, they just do it to try to make a difference. And we're here to build Pokey Place and try to make a difference. And I'm willing to answer any questions.
Okay, and
Email me. Thank you so much for your time.
all right, and I'm going to limit the remaining speakers to like about a minute and a half. Please, we still have a lot to carry. Carry on.
Gerald, you. Yes. We're talking about, let's talk about human. Let's talk about the disease that they carry, that they spread. When I address why not feeding them is a good idea. When you feed them, they're concentrated. When they're concentrated, they defecate in a concentrated area. At the parking ride, it's right next to the marina that I live on, the marina that I take my daughter wakeboarding in, the marina that I go out of into the ocean and I see monk seals right there, right outside of the bridge, all the way to China Wall and beyond, all the time. It's deadly to monk seals. But something it's more personal to me, and let me tell you why. It's because for those of you who don't know about toxoplasmosis, it is extremely dangerous to women, and especially pregnant women. How do I know this? My wife contracted toxoplasmosis when she was pregnant. And I'm not going to go into what we had to do because it's very emotional. So if we want to talk about, let's talk about human life and the irresponsible behavior that affects human life. The irresponsible behavior that affects the monk seals, which are an endangered species. I love that fact that you want to be educated. I got it right here. The effects of toxoplasmosis. There's responsible behavior and there's irresponsible behavior. And the feeding of the cats in a colony, in an area concentrated, they will, at the parking ride, you're introducing their feces, you're introducing their toxicity into the marina. And that's where I live. That's where I play with my daughter. I don't want her to go through what my wife went through when she was pregnant. Please read the material that I provided. I'm absolutely for enforcing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
My name is Reese Liggett, and I'm with the Oahu group of the Sierra Club. And we wrote the letter because we noted that people were leaving animals, feeding animals, and some people were loosing their pets and then coming back to enjoy them and feed them. So the sign says that the introduction of animals is not allowed in a park. And it says that feeding of animals is not allowed in the park. Now, if people that want to do these things, we have a legislative capability in the council and in the mayor, and they can get the laws fixed. But until the laws are fixed, we think that the laws should be obeyed and enforced, including the $500 fine. Regarding agreements to feed, District 7 says there are no agreements exist for Sandy Beach. I think the police researched that, and that's what the police said in their response to the board. The governor does not have jurisdiction in city parks. The mayor and the city council and the HPD have jurisdiction. Trap neuter does nothing for cat scat. Scat is a source of toxoplasmosis, which is dangerous to the monk seals and the porpoises in this native habitat. and danger to humans as well. I wonder when the cats go to be neutered, do they check to see if the cat is toxoplasmosis carrier? It might be a good time to rid the cat of toxoplasmosis or not release toxoplasmosis cats. We're just looking for enforcement of the sign and the revised ordinance of Honolulu and chapter 10. Thank you.
All right. We have some people online also that want to speak, so I'm going to ask you folks to keep your comments to a minute.
Quick, my name is Billy Balding. I was born and raised in this area. I've become a recent cat lover because I've always been a dog owner my entire life. My daughter just about 6 months ago got one. So I feel for the people, and the lady in the black sweater, I commend her for, getting somewhere to take to a location. But I own 10 vessels, boats. 5 of my boats are in Charlie Hunter, who's on board for the Marina Board president. He's not here this evening, but he's my neighbor. We share the same boundary line, and he can tell you. Out of my 5 boats, I use them often. I do movies, I do different things. I take my kids out on them. Every single time I go to my boat, there's cat food. Okay, on my boat. I've got to clean it. I don't care. I didn't know about these other kind of diseases the other gentleman mentioned. I'm blowing my mind. I got 3 girls and 1 boy, but they come on my boat with all their girlfriends in the smallest suits that you can possibly imagine nowadays that girls have. And I got all this cat fecal over. I'm cleaning it every time. So thank you, both sides, for what you do. But I also know from being at Charlie's place, the cats are dropped off there. It's college students that are here for 3-4 years, go to college, get a cat, they got their pet, they leave it down. Okay, so I just want to say, follow the law. The law says don't feed, don't feed. Help her get a place, a location, donate. So there's a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to introduce myself and let you know I am Stacy Fujii. I am the caretaker of the cats at Sandy Beach. First of all, what I want you to know is we're not just feeding the cats. I'm not walking along and throwing the food. What we do, as she said, is TNR management. This is trap, neuter, release, and manage. In order to manage, we have to feed them. So they come to the same area. Oh, sorry, we can keep track of it. So when we started during COVID, there were 75 to 80 cats there. Now, as of January, there's 36 cats there. We managed to rehome them, rehabilitate, and also get the cats that are lost back home. So when a new cat is on the beach, we know right away. So we have not noticed anyone dropping out playing with them. And there also is a proper way to feed them, which is how we we don't just throw the food. And like he said, you don't notice the cats, but that's what we try to do. Make sure nobody even notices that they're there on the beach. And as far as the native Hawaiian birds, I want to let you know that I spoke to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they informed me that there are no ground nesting birds at Sandy Beach at this time. They do migrate over. I'm speaking about the seabirds. As far as the other native Hawaiian birds, they need fresh water source. So they're mainly on the North Shore and Kaena Point. And the Audubon Society also told us that there are now birds nesting there right now, excuse me. As far as the monk seals, in order to catch toxoplasmosis, you have to eat a rodent infected with it. So that is why we feed them. So they're not eating rats that are infected. Yes, it is a bad disease, but there has not been one reported case at Sandy Beach of a monk seal dying from toxoplasmosis. The main killer of monk seals is fishery.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask you to close your comments.
So the reason why we wrote that petition
Roberta.
is to continue doing our work Otherwise, the population will get out of control.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Stacy.
And we also
Roberta,
have the support of the Humane
may I-
Society and the city, because we are doing everything.
Who's calling my name?
Oh.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the those online in just a moment. I'm finishing last comment from our attending audience. Go ahead.
So I am Stacy's brother. My name is Kahi Fujika. Speaking of toxoplasmosis, so I work for NOAA for 11 years. I currently work for the Peace Corps. So speaking of toxoplasmosis, I can really speak to that. I'm not the expert, but I can say that the most recent deaths of monk seals were human impact. I know that you both have listened to the news. June of last year, we had a horrible trauma to monk seals, and then in Molokai, there were 6 monk seals that were killed by fishermen, and then just tons of monk seals were killed mostly by fishermen and not through toxoplasmosis. And the native birds, like my sister said, is U.S. Fish and Wildlife has confirmed that they do not nest there. The shearwaters and the petrels do not nest there. If you folks have any further questions regarding toxoplasmosis, please come and speak to me. You can email me. I'm happy to give you the experts at NOAA that are head of the monk seal program. or the
Okay,
head of the
I'm going
science.
to ask you to close your comments. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to call the names of those who are online, and please keep your comments to 1 minute. Patty K.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, board members. I wanted to just say I agree with Stacy and all the ladies that many of these cats are there not due to being dumped by somebody or they're lost pets, and they're not any fault of their own. And I know that TNRM have been proven to be effective to manage a population. Many of these colony feeders are very dedicated, kind, generous people who spend their own money and time to take care of them. And they do not just feed them and walk away. They actually, I've known people who take them to the vet when they're sick, and they try to find home for them. So I urge you all to leave the poor cats and the colony feeders alone. We're all on this planet Earth, humans and animals together, and we need to learn to take care of everything. And by the way, rats cause way more diseases to human than cats, and cats are known to be a good control of rats population. So thank you very much. Appreciate
All
your
right,
time.
thank you. Dagmar. Dagmar. All right, Josie. Paanehe.
Good afternoon, Chair Roberta Mayer and board members. I sent an email to you. I want to check if all of you received my email.
I believe so. I've sent a whole bunch of emails to the board members in the last few days.
Thank you. Okay, then I asked that if you can put this subject matter on the agenda because you're stating that the subject matter was actually about the signs. And this is a very important issue because this feeder and caretaker is actually solving a problem for you, because if she was to step away within a year, you're going to be begging for help because you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of kittens that will get out of hand. They are going to look for food. People are going to throw food at them, but right now you have somebody who's managing it and who's able to reduce it. So I ask if you could put it on the agenda in the future, and please support this feeder. Thank you.
Okay, Kimiona Kane.
Aloha Chair, members, community. This is Kimiona Kane, the Chair for the Waimanalo Neighborhood Board. I want to mahalo other presenters for sharing their information with your board as well, as they have been participating in ours as well, Chair. Waimanalo is similar in that we have active colonies that are being worked on with TNR programs. It is not the best solution for circumstances that have been expressed tonight, but it is something that is taking place within our community parks and spaces. And so I do want to mahalo them for taking the initiative to try and create solutions. In our capacity there, Chair, we have continued concerns about the impacts on our native ecosystems, and we will continue to look at exploring ideas that make sense for us in terms of the TNR programming. In addition to that, with the regards to the Kaiwi shoreline, as some of you might know, I work for an organization that has been blessed to be curators out at the Kaiwi State Park. This issue does not end at Avavamalu Park for the county. We are seeing cats in the Kaiwi State Park as well, Chair. And I will just add one last comment that we will never see native seabirds return to these nesting grounds as long as cats are present. And so any kind of solutions is a great solution for us to consider. And I mahalo everyone for your time and effort. I can be available for comment and question if anyone wants to get involved. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Kimiona. And I'd like to thank all of the members who shared their comments with us this evening. This is not an item that we're going to be taking any action on. As I indicated earlier, we did take an action to ask the police department to enforce the revised ordinances of Honolulu. And we do not oppose some of the responsible care of cats in the community. However, we also feel that there's a necessity to speak for the other native animals as well. So we're going to be moving on. Our next presentation is SB 3202 and HB 1630 relating to urban development. And we have a presenter, Christine Atoza'a. Thank you so much for staying so late, Christine.
Thank you. My name is Christine Otter. I'm actually a Kaimai resident and a member of Hi Good Neighbor. We've been battling the Monster House issue since 2017. So I wanted to let you folks know that there are two bills advancing rapidly through the legislature. It's SB 3202, HB 1630. What it allows is for any residential lot in the state urban land use district to be subdivided to as small as 1,200 square feet with 4 homes on each lot. Or the other bill would allow you to subdivide your lot to 2,000 square feet with 3 homes on each lot. So it's worse than what monster houses allow currently. So for example, on an R5 lot of 5,000 square feet, you're allowed 2 homes on the property. So a main dwelling and an ADU or an apartment unit. So 2 kitchens, 2 wet bars. What the bill is proposing, SB 3202 is proposing, is you could subdivide that 5,000 square foot lot into 4 parcels, totaling 16 homes, which would mean 16 kitchens. HB 1630 would allow you to subdivide that 5,000 square foot lot to 2 parcels, totaling 6 homes. So the density that these bills will create, we don't have the infrastructure to support it at all. And for those reasons, I'm hoping that you guys can support and vote against these measures.
Elizabeth and then Paige.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. So let's put this into perspective. I live in Mariners Cove, 10,000 square foot lot. I could take my house down and what can I do with it?
So you could subdivide it into parcels and put 32 homes. That's with the Senate bill. And then the House bill would allow you to subdivide it to 5 parcels, totaling 15 homes.
And we're referring to it as a density bill. It's the most ludicrous thing I have ever heard. And a lot of people hear this and they hear the word urban and they think, oh, urban core. And they don't realize that this is going to seep into our residential bedroom, single family community. That's how important this is.
Paige?
What is the reason that is behind this? I mean, when they discuss this, the theys being the theys, when they discuss this and they say, wow, I really like this bill because
It's going to create affordable housing is what
Oh
they
my
say.
God.
But in reality, what we're seeing with the monster homes is when you allow that kind of density, it becomes a speculator's market, right? This further increases that development opportunity.
So the supporters of these bills want this because they're thinking that it's going to cure the homeless problem, because because these people are going to build, Elizabeth's going to go and build 15 affordable houses on her property?
Well, they claim it's gonna allow people to have starter homes.
15 of them? Okay,
It's a movement that is popular in some counties on the mainland.
and in Singapore, I'm sure.
All right, Greg, and then Elizabeth.
Yeah, it isn't just urban core in what you would imagine it to be. It's not even just suburban, but it would even be like Kaula, Kaava. I mean, it is anywhere there is a residential area. And so it would go throughout the entire island.
So, I mean, island-wide, we don't have structures to support it. As you folks know, with Kalaniana widening, that was a nightmare. So I don't know how you would do that in Kaimuki. I'm sure you guys see all of the traffic that feeds of people trying to get off to Cocoa Head Avenue, 6th Avenue, like that's increased tremendously because of the density that is allowed in our residential neighborhood. I mean, I can't imagine increasing density tenfold, what that will do island-wide.
I can look this up, but who introduced these bills?
The Senate bill was Stanley Chang.
Oh, big surprise, sorry.
House bill has a bunch of introducers. Luke Evslin. So I guess they introduced it on 40 and it's been successful. But I'm not sure if they have a minimum size for allowing people to subdivide that.
Also, Representative Ward introduced it, but has since disassociated himself from the bill. Elizabeth, you had a comment?
Yeah, so could you tell us a little bit about the research that you did at the DPP and what you found out?
So on the DPP annual report, it said that there's 80,000 housing units that have been permitted and approved, but not yet built. And there's no reason for why there's a backlog there. But there's also many properties on Oahu you can already add an ADU or an Ohana unit. So that's also additional inventory that people can access if they were incentivized properly. So we have the housing stock on Oahu based on the numbers that they're saying we need 50,000 housing units by 2025. So on Oahu, we have 80,000 permitted. So I feel that we need to focus on what are the stocks there and then consider changing zoning if we can't, get our housing units built.
All right, board members, further discussion or questions, or we can entertain a motion to take a position on these bills.
That's what I was going to do. A motion to oppose these two bills.
Second.
All right, seconded by Paige, motion by Herb that the neighborhood board take a position in opposition to these two bills, Senate Bill 3202 and House Bill 1630. Yes, Sam, and then Elizabeth.
Is there a representative here or online from Stanley Chang's office that can provide a little more color on this legislation?
Yes. We have someone from Representative Ward's office and Senator Chang is online. So,
Yeah, should we hear from Senator Chang first?
okay, Senator Chang, or who's here from Finn Carnahan?
Yes, hello. Yes, so I absolutely hear your concerns, and I'll definitely pass that on to the senator. If you guys have specific questions for me, I can try to answer if I can, or pass those on for a more in-depth answer.
I think the question then was the rationale for introducing this bill.
Sure, yeah. So I know Senator really does believe in like a full-pronged approach to the housing crisis. And whatever density we can increase on these existing single-family lots, which right now, as the zoning laws are written, I believe, make it quite difficult, if not impossible, to build anything that's denser than a single-family home on a large lot. So, trying to fight some of that and trying to just ease any pressure anywhere possible in the housing market. It's also intended to take the pressure off of agricultural or conservation lands for development. So developing in these areas that are already urbanized and already do have some infrastructure, rather than kind of taking over more land that's being used for other purposes.
Okay, Elizabeth?
Finn, would you kindly check in with Sarah about the statistic from the DPP about the 80,000 that's already permitted, and if Senator has put any effort and energy into seeing what that problem is and why they're not delivering, and would he consider pivoting from something like this to looking at delivering on the 80,000 that's already permitted? Would you kindly bring that back to the Senator? The other thing I want to mention is last year, something came up about housing, and Senator had said that he was focusing, and it was a density issue, focusing primarily on the urban core. So the part that stings is he's our guy, he's our senator. And this greatly impacts us. So would you kindly bring that back, but more specifically ask him to speak to the 80,000 at the DPP that's already entitled, and what initiatives can he make to make that happen? Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll bring that
Ebony?
back.
Can we also ask Senator Chang to come in person and engage with them next month?
We've asked him before.
Yeah, would you?
Well, at least be more conscious of the agendas of our meetings, and if his bill is being discussed,
No, I mean,
it would be prudent for him to be able to
I would
support
like
the meeting.
to have the rep acknowledge that we are asking for Senator Chang to come and speak with us next month.
Sure. Yeah, I'll pass that on and see if he can.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Ford. I'm from the Office of Representative Gene Ward. We'll just discuss HB 1630 real quick. Regarding this bill, although Representative Ward initially co-sponsored this bill in an attempt to promote the construction of ADUs, it has developed in a manner that he believes would alter the character of this community. This bill would allow for homeowners to build at least 2 more units on their properties, cluttering the streets and leading to overcrowding. Really quickly, I'm going to read a speech that he gave on the floor on the 21st of February. Quote, I rise in strong opposition of HB 1630. Why am I so opposed to this? A couple of reasons. Mr. Speaker, for about the last decade at least, we've had an identity crisis. Sometimes we think we're Los Angeles and we can just build and sprawl way out, or sometimes we think we're Hong Kong or Singapore and we can just build up, or we can build dense. And this is a density bill. This bill says we're in favor of Hong Kong because, Mr. Speaker, this bill says you can build 3 houses on 1 lot. Can you imagine 3 houses on 1 lot? Now look, I'm all for ADUs. Our ADU bill says if you build small and you have space on your lot, you can build another small unit. But when it says you can build 3 houses, we've gone too extreme, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend my colleague from the North Shore. They got it right. They said keep the country country, and we've got to adapt. Keep Kalihi Kalihi, keep Kapolei Kapolei, and keep Hawaii Kai Hawaii Kai. Mr. Speaker, I wish to dissociate my name from having signed on this bill and it turning out the way it did.
All right, thank you. Okay, are we ready to take a position? We have a motion and a second on the table. I'm going to ask Jeffrey to take a roll call vote. Now, the motion is to oppose Senate Bill 3202 and House Bill 1630. Elizabeth?
Perhaps Colin can guide us on this. Often what happens, first of all, I want you to know that these two measures have been what we call fast-tracked, which means they didn't get to see the light of day for the community to catch up on it. They've had like one hearing, and then, so to that end, it's going to move fast, and they could change them, and we're going to get stuck if it's specific about those two measures. Am I right about that? So what's the best way to send our letter in to cover us on this density issue? You follow, Chair? Yeah.
All right, we'll take your report out of order. If you could make it really quick.
My name is Colin Ford, and as I mentioned, I'm from Representative Ward's office. A few points we want to get to tonight. I'll make this whole speech as quick as I can. First, our office recently received notification that a plan has been proposed to replace the Scratch Hawaii Kai building in the Hawaii Kai Town Center with a new Bank of Hawaii. We'd love to hear all the public input we can regarding this proposal, so please, if you have any comments or concerns about the possibility of a new Bank of Hawaii branch in Hawaii Kai, please feel free to call our office, or next month you'll be receiving a survey asking for your input on this proposal. Next, I'd like to point everyone to the handout I brought. If you don't have one, you can find one. There's plenty of copies next to the door. On the front page, you will find a list of bills that either our office or other legislators have introduced this session that could have an impact on the lives of Hawaii Kai residents. There's a couple I'm going to focus on. First, we have one of Representative Ward's bills, HB 1735, Inmate Skills Training. The purpose of this bill is to increase the quality and quantity of correctional mentorship, counseling, educational, and vocational programs available to interested inmates and allow inmates to engage in supervised apprenticeship training. The state of Hawaii is currently spending over $300 million per year on incarcerated individuals, and with a 54% recidivism rate, this number will likely increase. Our hope is that by providing inmates with basic education, vocational opportunities, we can reduce the overall prison population, thereby reducing the state's overall expenditure on corrections. This bill passed its final House committee today and will now move to the floor for its third reading. Next, I'm sure everyone's heard about SB 3335, bill to legalize recreational marijuana. If passed, this bill would go into effect on January 1st, 2026, and legalize the cultivation, manufacture, sale, and personal adult use of cannabis for adults. This bill has a Senate committee hearing this Friday, March 1st at 9:50 a.m. So if you support or oppose this bill, be sure to log on to the Capitol website and submit your testimony. I'm going to show you guys how to do that exactly. Two more bills I'll just quickly go over since it seemed to apply to this
Yeah,
meeting.
Colin, I'm going to have to, you're going to have to cut it
Okay,
short.
Let's go
You're gonna have to cut it-
quicker, right to the blue handout that's in
Okay.
the middle. These are step-by-step instructions of how to give your support, testimony, or comments on any bill. All you have to do is go to the Capitol website, create an account, and you can support or send in your comments for any measure you'd like. It's very easy. If this does not explain it, please let us know. We will walk you through it. Finally, I just want to mention that we have an upcoming beer summit that's on next Thursday, March 7th at 6 p.m. at the Oahu Club, and will feature Clinton Churchill, former Campbell Estate trustee and president of the Practical Policy Institute of Hawaii, who will be discussing Hawaii's 100% renewable energy goal. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I'm available for questions.
Okay, Colin, I think Elizabeth's question was, if we send a letter in opposition, should we list these two bills by number? Or if they, change that, I mean, do we need to make our opposition wider in case they bring it back under some different title?
This will be the title for this session. So you would submit it twice, once under each bill, once for the SB and once for HB.
Okay, all right,
And also contact our office as well, so we make sure it gets through.
okay. Paige?
But just to speak to that, they can change 3 words in the bill and it will go through as, SB 3348. I mean, that's all they have to do is to change a few words. So I think what we should do is speak to the subject matter as opposed to speaking to, we can mention these bills, but say, but our opposite.
All versions.
Yeah.
Relating.
All versions,
Okay.
and our opposition is to this subject.
All right. Okay, we still need to, thank you, Colin. We still need to take a vote. So Jeffrey, will you please call the roll?
Idea, if you guys don't mind. Could also add something that states that you oppose legislation that proposes to override county authority in determining where density should increase.
All right, if you could just give me that, we'll include that language. Okay, Jeffrey?
I do have to clarify real quick, who made the motion? Okay, and who's second? Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Member Alton,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Knutson,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Lyons, Chair Mayor, Riley, Shriner,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
Wolf. Okay, he stepped out, and Martin.
Yes.
I will take Member Wolf's vote as an abstention, but the vote passes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to have to zip through our officials' reports. Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative, Amy Asselby. Are you online? There you are, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm online today. I am dropping the mayor's newsletter in the chat, and I believe that the board members already received it, so I won't go over that. The first item to follow up on is the Portlock Road grate repair. Really no update, except I can't remember if they also mentioned last time that the drain inlet grate was measured and a replacement was ordered. The delivery of the grate is expected in March of 2024. So they'll schedule the replacement. It says when resources are available. So no set date yet for that. There was a question about drainage ditch concerns, or that's how it was characterized. Kind of a long presentation about the drainage ditch that starts along Hawaii Kai Drive, going into Kalama Valley, running down Ahukini Road towards Kawapa Pond. So DFM inquired of Kamehameha Schools and learned that they had hired a contractor to perform this vegetation management, and no grading or grubbing was performed. Kamehameha Schools revealed that the work has been met with a lot of positive community response so far. They plan to keep the area maintained on an interval that will involve more routine vegetation management. Kamehameha Schools also revealed that they own portions of Kuapa Pond. However, the Marina Association would be the appropriate party to ask regarding vegetation maintenance from the pond. So that should cover the questions about that inquiry, I hope, and noting that that is a Kamehameha Schools maintenance and management issue, but DFM did ask them for that information. The next two things, or three things, are with regard to Cocoa Head BMX Trail, the stables, and the shooting range. So for the BMX Trail, it's not a major update, but to note that DPR is working on some new signage based on the concerns, and they will be posted at the BMX Trail. They said volunteers do continue to do light housekeeping, and they are doing some routine facility checks, but I don't think they're going to be able to, control usage of that BMX trail, if that's what folks were wanting. So they don't have the staffing to do something that intensive at this point. And that's the update on that one. The Cocoa Head Stables repair, the update is really not further detailed, except to say that they have a consultant working on the replacement of the water line. They are looking at basically scoping out the nearest source connection, and that will be the first project that's undertaken with that $300,000 allotted for the Cocoa Head Stables repair. Nothing further from the departments that are doing that work. Next is the Cocoa Head Shooting Range. I think we mentioned before that DPR has hired a recreational specialist -- 1 for the shooting range, and they're in the process of interviewing still for that second position, recreation assistant 2. But I think the chair may be aware that DPR is soon to announce, they have a press release pending that beginning March 6th, the pistol and rifle ranges will resume regular weekday hours. And both ranges will be open from 12 to 4 every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. HPD is currently using the range. This was a question asked by permit on weekdays until their memorandum of agreement can be executed, and they're still working that through the process for all the necessary approvals. And then DPR will work to inform the public of range usage on weekdays. HPD also responded to that saying, since it's been reopened, that they have resumed their training, which is limited to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and from 12 to 8 on Fridays. The neighborhood board may share these times with the public. It says at no time before or after these hours will live fire training be allowed. Furthermore, the training allows only pistol, shotgun, and rifle firing, the same rules that are applied to the public. And these are their words. There should be no concern about excessive noise, as these calibers have been in use for decades at both the public and law enforcement ranges at the Cocoa Head Shooting Complex. So I guess what they're trying to say is it's not a different, I think there was a concern about louder sound than usual, and they're saying it's the same pistols, rifles, and shotguns that have been used at the training range. I know you already discussed Joe Lucella Beach Park, but the HPD comment was, I think, basically what the lieutenant shared, that they can enforce if there is a sign that says people are violating a law by being at the beach park, but otherwise they cannot address individuals who are in the beach park when it is open unless they are committing a criminal act. And then there was another thing I just happened to see on the agenda about the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway, that there was film crew vehicles on the Kaiwi Coast sand dunes. This is on state land, not on city land. And the Honolulu Film Office said, you know, they did have a small shoot at Baby Mox for Hawaiian Airlines, but folks were in the water. This has nothing to do with the Kaiwi coastline, but it may have been confused because the Honolulu Film Office mentioned they were on the same day, but the concern was in an area managed by the state and the state film office. And so that concludes my report on the issues that were brought up from last meeting.
Thank you, Amy. That was a very comprehensive report. Are there questions from the board? Yes, Greg?
Just one quick comment that the noise from the firing range actually was occurring over a weekend. So you're telling us that they're limiting it to weekdays and that it really wasn't noisy, but it really was. And it was outside those hours. So we'll trust that from this point forward, they will be keeping it more contained. Thank you.
Amy, is the shooting range open on the weekends as well?
The
Isn't it
shooting
open on
range is,
weekends?
excuse me, open to the public on the weekends, but the HPD trains there on the weekdays.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Herb?
You know, it's been months and they've been talking about fixing the Cocoa Crater stables. And all that's coming out of their mouth is the water. The vendor says they have the water working. Is the water for the stables or the botanical gardens or both? And when are they going to start working on repairing the buildings and all the stuff that was destroyed by the previous vendor?
They have not shared any further plans. I don't know if the 300,000 will cover all that. I don't know if Kayla has any additional information, but what I have is that this is the water line to meet the domestic needs of Cocoa Crater Botanical Gardens, Sandy Beach Park, and the Cocoa Head Stables. So it's all of them.
Elizabeth?
I was out there with Herb when the mayor and managing director made a pledge, and it didn't include Sandy Beach or the botanical gardens. The funding that Herb's referring to was going right back to refurbish that community asset. I was just there, and I'm very saddened to see that there are structures that the city had condemned, and they have not come back to take them down. And so, you know, perhaps we could set something up where we could have another meeting out there. And now that you have a new, Dee Dee Holyfield is, I think, enterprise. Yeah, so perhaps something more needs to happen because people are forgetting pretty quick what the promises were made when some of us were out there with the mayor and the managing director, and that funding was promised, put through, we supported it, and now they're using it for other means. While that facility, that community asset still sits the way that it does with buildings that are supposed to be coming down that the city themselves condemned. So I know that it's a lot, but there's something
I
odd
think
going on.
if you want to have a meeting with the new director at the Department of Enterprise Services who manages the contract, that would that should also include the Department of Design and Construction. So there are multiple city projects involved in any kind of construction or water line or other work, as you may be aware. I mean, it's on DPR land, right? But DES manages concessions and they do the contracts for that work. But then there are two other departments, both the Department of Design and Construction and Facility Maintenance, that can be involved in the actual projects. So just a suggestion, yes, definitely. If the chair or you want to connect on a meeting, I would probably not be the best person to set that up since you guys would be working with your schedules. But yeah, I don't know if the new director has been out there to check out the stables yet.
Yes, she has. I was there when she was there. And they were talking about fixing things up. And that was many months ago. So there's nobody working on this.
Yeah, I mean, not trying to make any excuses, but there are thousands of projects working their way through. So I'm reporting on the progress that's being made and noted that there is a lot of expectations for additional work to be done.
Agree, but the mayor made a promise. My second thing is the way you presented the closure of the beach park sounded like the mayor's office is not into it. Our district major stated that it could work. Our board here voted that we would like to see it, the closure, along with all the other parks that are already closed so that we can deal with the homeless problem along our highway out here in Hawaii Kai.
Yeah, I'm not reporting anything from the mayor. What I stated was a statement from the Honolulu Police Department. And it said, having signs posted stating park rules and park closure times would help tremendously. At this time, without the signs, there is not much officers can do to remove the individuals or do any type of enforcement unless they are observed by the officer committing a criminal act.
All right, Amy, thank you very much for being present tonight and sharing all of that information. If you don't mind, because Governor Josh Green's representative, Mike Buck, is here, still here. Mike, we'll take you out of order. April, Not here? Okay,
it's
go ahead,
Keola.
Mike.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. I'm going to be as brief as possible. I know it's been a long night for everybody. I got some good news. One of the things that I was tasked to do is check out the beach park myself. And I can tell you from the round of applause that happened here earlier this evening, that everybody's pretty pleased. I also want to report that the 3 cops we're talking about in the area were at the bathhouse, at the bathroom thing, getting some applause from people who were there. They were going up to approach those people and actually did get some of them to go. So I think that the collaborative concern right now that this group and everybody around it is for these closures, that the police will have the teeth they need. So in the meantime, don't take no for an answer. I mean, I have a Paige knows and others know, that's my area too. I live there. So I have a telephone. When I see something, I call my friends on my telephone tree and say, tell them to call too, because it's a squeaky wheel. And the squeaky wheel right now, there are 3 reasons why that happened. First, the ACLU was defeated. Doesn't mean they're going to go away. They come up with another way to give instructions to people to beat the system. But the clearing of that part and now working on the restroom to almost everybody is a pretty big, I hope, concern. And I was also tasked because, as you can know, I don't know if you do know, I've been following some of the deliberations going on in the legislative session as we speak. Because of the big commitment that we have made as a state to Maui, and particularly to taking care of business from the fires and the people, all state departments have been asked to submit a budget for a 15% decrease in spending. That's going to affect a lot of things. That is why you have to be more and more open and demanding from this area what you want. Because if they just, last time when Governor Ige, what he did was he said, okay, give me your budget. Give me one that's 5% less. Give me one that's 5% more. Now they're saying it's 15% less. Now, you know what you would do if 15% of whatever you're doing wasn't going to be available. It's going to be crunch time. So we need to be pretty vocal. And right now, I'm not thinking that we want to hear stuff that is not outside this area. So what I'd rather do is I'd rather go back to my PIO meetings on your behalf. And I want to tell you, since I gave my email address out last time, it helped. I got about 12 from people that have never communicated with me. It's michael.buck@hawaii.gov. And I am asking you, give me what you want me to go to the governor's meeting for and say, hey, my folks and me feel this about that. Any questions? Paige.
Go ahead, Paige.
I take it from her. The teachers are losing money, and all the capital projects around the state are going to be losing money, and all the money
It's
that's
mostly services. You know, the CIP, we don't want to confuse the operating budget and the CIP is not that much. But you're right, because as you know, we've been talking.
I didn't
all
ask
city
my
agents-
question.
Say?
I didn't finish my sentence.
Okay, I'm truly sorry.
What I was saying is that the CIPs are losing money, the teachers are losing money, we're losing doctors out the door, and all this money is going to go to Maui. All the money.
Where do you get?
It was on the news tonight.
Oh.
Well, okay, so I guess the news is lying. When Josh Green said on the news tonight that the money is all going to Maui, that he didn't mean that all the money is going to Maui. He meant something else.
Okay, well, to avoid an argument.
I'm not trying to argue. I'm trying to ask a question, but I'll let it go because you don't want to hear it. So
No, I do want to hear it. So do these folks. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Anyone else?
I think that's it, Mike.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Mhm.
Thank you for staying. Okay, and I passed over City Council Chair Tommy Waters' office. So let me go back there and Keola, is that you?
Yes. Aloha, good
No?
evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
terrific. So I just wanted to go ahead and advise with regards to the park closure hour, the letter that you guys were going to be drafting. We want to make sure that you're addressing the letter to the Department of Parks and Recreations. What I've done is I've copied the, excuse me, I've copied the rules and regulations governing park closures. It would be the DPR director that would be the addressee, and then you can just forward a copy to Council Chair Waters.
Thanks for that direction.
No, thank you so much. I'm going to also copy the Chair Waters newsletter into the chat as well. Here we go. So Chair Waters has returned from official travel today. Unfortunately, he is unable to attend tonight's meeting and has asked me to convey his apologies. I'm here to go ahead and represent Chair Waters, and I can go ahead and take any questions or concerns at the end of my report. We're excited to report some legislation updates. It's on the second page of our newsletter. I'd like to draw your attention to Resolution 23-162 CD1, initiating amendments to the revised charter of the City and County of Honolulu, as amended relating to Climate Resiliency Fund. Chair Waters introduced this resolution to create a Climate Resiliency Fund. This fund will use 0.5% of the current real property taxes, which means it's not a new tax. With the recent approval by Mayor, this will be on your ballot in November. Bill 4023 relating to Transit Construction Mitigation Fund, Ordinance 24-1. The ordinance is the first in the new calendar year and has been successfully enacted into law. Bill 6123 relating to exceptional trees, Ordinance 24-2 has successfully amended the register of exceptional trees, ensuring compliance with the latest regulations. Chair Waters also introduced two of the following new resolutions. Resolution 2430, requesting the city administration, DPR, DFM, and DDC to provide an update regarding the installation and maintenance of low flow fixtures at city parks. As well as lastly, the Resolution 2431, requesting the Honolulu Emergency Service Department and the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services to update the Honolulu City Council on the transfer and billing of ambulance services from the state. That's my report for February. I can take any questions.
Any questions? Paige?
Can you tell me where Chair Waters stands on the park closure for Mauna Lua Bay and Jolukela Beach Park?
Thank you so much. That's a really great question. This has been an ongoing issue with regards to park closures, specifically at that beach. We've received countless concerns. Chair Waters supports what the community wants. We've dealt with HPD having restraints as far as enforcement, and we've advised community members to bring it to the neighborhood board for a I want to say like a consensus decision so that we can support the community.
Okay, so where does Chair Waters stand? Where does Chair Waters stand? Now, I know where the community stands. I want to know where he stands on this issue.
Yes, he does support park closure for the Lukela Beach Park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Keola, for staying with us this long. Thank you for your report. Okay, anybody from Senator Stanley Chang's office?
Yes, hi. I'm Finn from Senator Chang's office. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, Finn.
So I put a few links in the chat. The first will take you to subscribe to our District 9 newsletter and view the February edition on our website. The second link is to subscribe to our housing newsletter, which is a weekly compilation of housing stories relevant to Waikai, Honolulu, and the state. The third link is our office webpage where you can find contact info and track any bills you're interested in that Senator Chang has introduced. And the last one is a list of upcoming hearing dates for Senate and House committees. We are also happy to announce that capital improvement funding has been secured for 4 facilities in the East Oahu region. Leahi Hospital will receive $650,000 to upgrade their air conditioning units and relocate their adult daycare program. Diamond Head State Monument will receive $2 million for rockfall and flood mitigation. Berkheimer Emergency Operations Center will receive $5 million for various upgrades, and Special Education Center of Hawaii will receive $100,000 to remodel their dining room area for clients and for other facility improvements. And we really encourage you to reach out to our office if you have any questions at all or need any help. We're always available. Thanks.
Thank you, Finn. Question by Paige.
Finn, hi, could I make a request, please, that if you're not going to be able to get hard copies of Senator's newsletter to us, that you could get a email copy to Chair Mayor before our meeting so that we can print it out and take a look at it? Because
I
I'm
did,
not
I
on-
did print it. I did send it to you, Paige, today.
Okay, I didn't get it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I can double check with Chair if I have.
I
the
got it,
correct email.
Finn. I did send it to the
Okay.
board members. If you could send it a day ahead, it would be better, because I think a lot of board members don't check their emails prior to coming to the meeting on the day of the meeting. Okay? But thank you. Anybody from Senator Chris Lee's office? All right. Anybody from Representative Mark Hasham's office? Any congressional representatives? Okay, we're going to be moving on to our business agenda. The first item is determining whether we are going to recess the March 26th board meeting due to it falling on Prince Kuhio Day, or whether we are going to reschedule. And I gave you 2 possible options, March 25th or April 2nd. Jeffrey has indicated that April 2nd conflicts with the Waianae Neighborhood Board, and so he would not be able to be here to assist us on that particular date. Do you have a preference? Do you want to recess, or do you want to have a meeting?
My preference would be for March 25th.
All right. Can I have a motion that we reschedule our
I
March?
so move.
Okay, we're going to
Second.
reschedule the
Second.
motion. Page seconds. All right, so the motion is to reschedule our March 27th board meeting to Monday, March 25th because of the state holiday. Yep. Can we do a voice vote? All those in favor say aye. Are there any opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion carries. Our next item is to endorse the East Honolulu Watershed Management Plan. Can I enter? Yes, Elizabeth?
Wanted to mention that Marissa is here.
Yes, Melissa May is
Yeah.
waiting for our action. Thank you, Melissa. We remember we had another month to review the document. And Melissa, I'm not sure that you're aware, but the State Historic Preservation Division has agreed to make the change, recognizing that Mauna Lua is its own ahupua'a, and we're not part of the Waimanalo ahupua'a. And because your watershed management plan is modeled on the ahupua'a geographic areas, we'd like to make sure that that plan is updated to include that, because the plan will be around for a number of years. So we want to be sure that the correct information is in that plan. So Melissa or Barry, could you give us that assurance?
Sure. Chair, thank you. Once again. Yes, so we did receive the update from Shifty that They're going to be updating the GIS layer for the state and the map on their website. So we will be incorporating that change.
Thank you. Yes, Elizabeth?
I had sent in some additional comments. Is it safe to assume that they'll get a response to that, or should I have to track it through city council or Barry? Anything you want to comment on, or?
No, thank you, Elizabeth. You and we received comments from you and a couple others. So we've been reviewing them, and I don't think it should be a problem to incorporate any of them. And we'll do so before it gets to city council. So we'll confirm, but yeah.
And lastly, Cleo Okalani Iki works closely with us, and I think I mentioned that they're going to check in to see. So thank you very much about the Ahupuaha. But some of the comments that I had shared with you are over that way too. So you just may want to address that ahead of time when you go there.
Good to know. Yeah, we'll be going there again.
Okay.
This week, whenever their next meeting.
Yeah,
is.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That next, yeah, I think it'd be Thursday. Yeah, it'd be Thursday. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barry.
All right, I'm ready to entertain a motion to approve the watershed management plan.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the plan.
All right, motion by Sam. Is there a second? Elizabeth seconds. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Is there anyone who opposes? Seeing no opposition, the plan is unanimously approved. Thank you very much for staying so long, and thank you for all of the hard work that went into developing the plan. Appreciate it. Take care. The next item on our board business agenda is consider installing speed bumps or humps on Kealoha Street before and after Kalama Valley Community Park, and consider crosswalks at the intersection of Kealoha, Mokuhano, and Kahului Streets as speed mitigation options. Now, we took a quick voice vote at our last meeting. The measure did not pass, but I felt that we needed a little more time because that was a rushed action. And so I know that there are some board members who do not support additional speed bumps, in these areas. So would like to hear from everybody, and we have somebody from the audience. If you'd like to come on up and speak to this issue, we'd be happy to hear you. And board members, I want to remind you that we did get testimony submitted by Natalie Iwasa and one other person, Lee, I think, can't remember her last name, which I sent to you earlier. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Thacker, and I'm happy to be here. This is actually one of the I had a chance to attend. I didn't realize they're going to go this long, but I saw one agenda item, and this is actually one of the agenda items that I was hoping to be able to speak to all of you about today. I've attended, Dean Ward's prior meeting and one of his other get-togethers similar to this. And I was, some of my neighbors, actually, to start off with, I want to inform everybody that I live on the very busy intersection of Kealahu Street and Hawaii Kai Drive. So if anybody knows the issues related to this whole area, it's me. Unfortunately, and I can show you many, many pictures actually, of some devastating stuff that has gone on with that intersection. And unfortunately, our house has been the subject of 2 major accidents. You probably all have driven by my house and not realized it. We live right on that corner, and you've probably seen the wall that was destroyed. That's been twice. That's our house. And there's been 7 incidents at that very intersection, including one elderly lady that almost got killed, that I heard the car go over the sidewalk, and she was just petrified. I saw out the window this lady. I ran out there and consoled her along with some of the other people that walk on that street. And when we're walking on the street in that area, if we're crossing the street, we don't realize what danger we're in when we're in that area. I don't think anybody, even I didn't really realize what danger, because I actually do a lot of yard work in that area as well. Try to maintain the look of the area, that intersection, like that, all that grass area. That's me out there mowing the lawn on many occasions. And I try to take out the signs that are there for 5 weeks so that it doesn't look like it's a junkyard area, But I can show you many pictures that unfortunately are very disturbing. people may not realize, but then, like I said, 7 accidents have happened there. And I've unfortunately had to call the police 4 times for those. And that's within the last 2 years.
So are you speaking for these measures to be placed there?
Yes. And then I'm a strong proponent of in specific, having speed bumps on different areas right at the intersection. What people do is they come at the intersection and they don't even stop at night. I would love to take half of you and I can set up a couple of benches outside right at the intersection and you would get a chance to see and hear what I hear every weekend. And it's not pretty, trust me. Everybody comes with their motorcycles, they do their little thing, their wheelie thing, or they come, they don't even stop, and they basically run up the hill on Hawaii Kai Drive. And numerous times they've almost taken out pedestrians. I mean, I've almost witnessed a number of times. And so having speed bumps placed at various intervals, especially on the one coming down Hawaii Kai Drive, would be absolutely amazing because that would save lives. And I'm telling you, there's about 3 times people almost got killed on that intersection. And I've been almost one of them, yes.
What was your name again? I'm sorry.
Oh, my name is Aaron Thacker.
Aaron.
yes.
Okay, Aaron, this issue was referencing a particular area.
Yes.
So you're indicating that a different area.
Yes, but it's kind of all, because the school you're talking about is probably down the street, correct? Is it the one, the school right down Kealahu Street? that's
Yeah,
down the
but
road?
we were looking more at the Kalama Valley area.
Yeah. That's where I am.
Oh,
I
okay, okay.
literally live right next to the Kalama Valley Shopping Center. I'm at the intersection.
Oh, okay,
Literally.
okay.
So I can speak from personal experience how dangerous this intersection is. Because as everybody knows, this is probably like, the way it's constructed is from like the 70s. So there's no actual safety measures in this area. So
Okay.
I'm about crosswalks, about speed bumps, and those measures will save lives, trust me.
All right.
because-
We have somebody online also that would like to speak. Jackie?
If you can hear me.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I live in Kalama Valley. I walk my dog early in the morning. And I actually brought this up to Mr. Knudsen that lives in Kalama Valley. I see a lot of Kapuna that are walking on the street in Kalama Valley. And I understand why they're not on the sidewalks because those are very uneven and they don't see well. And you can trip very easily, so they walk along the street. And the cars from the back of the valley on Kealoha down to the 3-way stop are flying down the hill. And so I just feel that it's going to be a tragedy waiting to happen with everybody speeding through Kealoha. And there's a gentleman that walks his dog with a cart in a stroller, and he crosses the street to go down to the shopping center every day around 5:36. There's just a lot of people walking in the roadway there, and that's why I thought maybe speed bumps to slow people down or crosswalks would be helpful in the area.
All right, thank you. Now, last month, Greg, you had indicated that a suggestion that we send a letter to the Department of Transportation asking for speed mitigation
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah, so it didn't reflect that. I think Paige had suggested
Yeah,
that.
it didn't
That's
have to be bumps or humps
Right.
but consider some speed
Yes.
mitigation
And
for that
recognizing
area.
that it is their decision, but we would make a recommendation to look at that area. As Jackie just said, it's a speedway along Kealoha. It goes past a very popular park. It seems like several teams are playing at that park every afternoon, and they park on both sides, so the kids are having to cross that street in probably arguably the most dangerous stretch where people do speed. So yeah, it's not necessarily speed bumps or speed humps, whatever you'd want to call them, but some sort of speed mitigation, and maybe extending on to the area down to the T intersection, just to kind of look at that whole stretch. police were out there last week and I saw 3 tickets within about 15 minutes. So I think they're watching it a little better, but they can't be everywhere. And people do go through that intersection as well as bicyclists just all the time.
We have someone else online, Natalie. Go ahead, Natalie.
Thank you. Sorry, my camera's not working, but yeah, I did submit testimony. I wanted to add to that, and not only am I concerned about bicyclists having to go over speed humps because they're right in the path where bicyclists ride, but you know, I like the idea of looking at other alternatives. There are other ways to get people to slow down, road diets, more enforcement. And one of the things that I've noticed is HPD on Kalaniana Ole Highway, they escort the street sweepers. They have, you know, to me, it's a waste. And rather than having escorts on the highway, they could be out enforcing speed limits, enforcing stop signs, stoplights, and that kind of thing. So I do not support speed humps or speed bumps, but I do recognize the problems of speeding and think that there are other options available and ask you to consider those instead. Thank you.
I got it.
Paige?
I
Then
think
her.
that in any letter that we write requesting information on speed mitigation, I think that, I'm not sure, but I think Hawaii Kai Drive is actually a state road. I don't think that's city and county. And we run into issues when we're talking about state roads and city and county roads. And I could be wrong with that, but I don't know. But I think that there's a reason why they use speed humps in certain areas and not speed bumps in certain areas. And I think we need to find out what their recommendation is and why for that area. And then also a clarification on whether, if we're talking to the city and county, that they can do that on a state road like Hawaii Kai Drive. If somebody has, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
Herb and then Elizabeth.
Yeah, Natalie, I want to correct you that the police cars that are escorting street sweepers and construction trucks and all that stuff and not doing patrol duties are what they call special duty. They're working off hours to work with those companies. It has nothing to do with the on-duty officers.
Hawaii Kai Drive is a county road, and I can confirm that because we still have an outstanding issue that we need to take care of, which is the renaming of Hawaii Kai Drive back from when we did the sustainable plan review. So it's county.
Okay, so Greg, do you want to propose a motion?
Okay, yeah, as it is, as it's written, but just to ask the transportation authorities to consider speed mitigation efforts in Kalama Valley, on Kalama Valley thoroughfares. Maybe that would cover it. Trying to incorporate the concern about Hawaii Kai Drive as well, which was not part of this initially. But it intersects with Kealoha. So it is that corridor, but the particular concern initially was going past the park. So is that clear enough, you think?
All right, to send a letter to transportation authorities to consider speed mitigation options in the Kalama Valley thoroughfares.
Yeah, and I do believe Hawaii Kai Drive is a city street. And the question about whether or not speed humps are put on state highways, well, they definitely are. Go through Waimanalo, that's state, and they're all over the place.
Okay, is there a second to Greg's?
Second.
Right, seconded by Sam. Now, would you like to discuss this further? I know that some of you oppose speed bumps, so I mean, certainly like to hear what you have to say. I know that Natalie is concerned about the bumps and the humps to the bicyclists. No more comments? We're all good?
I think speed bumps are for very low speed areas, like probably 5 miles an hour and less. Speed humps are designed for reducing cars probably to 25.
All right, so we actually really want the transportation authorities to come back to us with their.
And maybe a dedicated bike path can be placed there where the speed hump does not.
All right. So we want them to investigate the area and to assist us with some mitigation options. All right, so we have a motion and a second by Greg and Sam. You want to do a voice vote, or shall we do a, well, we did have some opposition last time, so I'm thinking that maybe we need to do you're okay? All right, voice vote, all right? All those in favor, say aye. Is there anyone opposed? All right, then I'll draft the letter and get that out as soon as I can. All right. The next item is the cleaning of the drainage ditch that runs along Ahukini Street. This was what Jean shared with us last time. And I think that this was covered in the mayor's representative's report. The Cocoa Head shooting range also was covered in the mayor's representative's report, as well as the update on the Cocoa Crater stables. So we're moving on to the update on the Kaiwi Coast Scenic Byway. And there were concerns about the film crew vehicles on the Kaiwi Coast sand dunes. The mayor's representative did also address that, but Elizabeth, you wanted to say something about that?
They ended up shutting down that day, the one day, and then they made sure that they had additional folks there they had DoCare officers that they felt maybe they should have had other representation. But that being said, on a bigger picture, this is the second time within 6 months something had happened on the Kaiwi Coast that we didn't know about, that created a stir or concern within the community. And then, of course, potentially or had the perception of compromising the cultural and natural resources. So to that end, I know that there's a couple of community members of which from Huinalu, Carol Jackson is one of them. Anne Marie Kirk, cultural practitioner, is another one. I think there's several folks that are reaching out to DLNR and we'll be meeting with them so that this doesn't continuously happen. There seems to be a miss in their ability to share with us. And then, of course, there seems to be some sort of permitting that's being allowed that seems to go counter to what everybody's thinking should be for that area. So hopefully those gals will have a good meeting and I'll ask them to come and share, or perhaps they'll invite them.
All right, Paige?
Yeah, I know in my neighborhood, when they film in my neighborhood, they always put up signs that say no parking. We know they're going to be filming because they put up signs a week in advance and say no parking on this day or from these days or whatever. So we know that that has to do with film crews. But I think because it's not impacting people parking where they're going to be parked and filming, I think that's the reason they don't put out a notice or put up signs that say no parking, we're filming here. You know what I mean? Like there's no notification to the public because maybe to them, the public's not impacted.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
This is more about the care from the county side to the state side of Kaiwi and the inclusionary aspect that needs to happen, perhaps using this venue.
Certainly, we'd like to be notified so that maybe we can assure that they're not damaging any of the vegetation. Okay, so Elizabeth, it's okay. I'm going to take this off of the agenda, this particular item. And if Anne Marie and others can come back and give us feedback on that meeting would be helpful. All right, there is no update on the Camilo Nui Valley agriculture unless, Elizabeth, you have any comments about what's happening on the leases?
Well, the understanding was that something was going to be told before the end of the year than it was when they come before the board in March. And now I understand that they're not quite ready yet. So in the summertime, so the leases pretty much are going to be POW in 2025. So, you know, they're moving along pretty quickly. The farmers just don't know whether they need to start packing up or what. So there isn't anything more to share. But I have faith that things are going to work out. So thank you.
All right, so the plight of the farmers is still an issue. We won't know what Kamehameha Schools has planned for that area. Yes.
I do want you to know that a nonprofit did make an offer to purchase a section of the valley for the purpose of keeping the natural watershed protected, as well as doing really good agriculture, food. But the, I think there's about 25 acres that they were looking to purchase, but the Kamehameha Schools isn't interested in entertaining that at this time.
All right, so we have, yes, Herb, did you have a question?
Yeah, my comment is going to be, we need to know what Kamehameha is going to present to us, not on just the farmland. James, the
Yes.
Great Lawn.
Yes, no, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, that, and not just like show up and do it. We need to let the community know that they're planning on doing something out here.
Yes.
And that's why they're not giving up any of the land in Camilo Nui.
Well, like I said, I did get some communication from Kamehameha Schools, and they had indicated that they will be ready to present to the neighborhood board and the community what some of their plans are for all of the properties in this area, but that they won't be ready until the end of summer. They're still reaching out with the different community groups. They did say March, and so that's why they gave me a heads up that they won't be ready in March. All right. Okay, we're going to be moving on. Any announcements from any of our board committees? Okay, approval of the regular meeting minutes. The minutes were distributed online and in hard copy. Any comments or revisions? If there are no changes, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. Any final board announcements? All right, our next meeting again is going to be on Monday, March 25th. That is different from our last Tuesday of the month meeting. So please be aware that next month it will be on a Monday. The next regular meeting is on March 25th, Monday. The Hawaii Kai Neighborhood Board regular meetings are cablecast on Olelo Channel 49 on the second Monday of the following month at 9 p.m. and repeating on that month's third Friday at 7 a.m. The videos can also be seen online at the Olelo Net and on the Honolulu.gov Neighborhood Board website. I want to thank everybody for staying so late. Thank you, board members. We'll see you next month. Have a great month. Meeting is adjourned.